Do you rest enough? Most of us are probably saying, no, I run on 5 hours of sleep and 2 gallons of coffee a day. And while physical rest is really important, what I'm actually talking about here is leisure. Yeah, sure, Jacob, I watch a football game on Sundays or watch Netflix or play some video games in my free time, or maybe you have a lot of time to do so. But what if that's actually not true leisure? What if leisure, instead of being based on consumption, is based on reception? My name is Jacob Hubbard, and this is Freedom, Chapter 5, brought to you by Incarnate Ministries. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and just comment on these videos, share them with all your friends. Let's just try and build as much momentum as possible with this series, because I believe that the Lord is really speaking truths here that need to be heard today. And so just thank you guys so much for tuning in every day so far. Really excited just for how this is going to continue to grow. So back to the chapter. This is Chapter 5 of Exodus, and what's going on here? Well, Moses and Aaron come down, and they say to Pharaoh, hey, we want to go sacrifice to our God. And Pharaoh says no. And let's look at his response that he exactly says. He says in verse 17, you are idle. You are idle. This is why you say, let us go and sacrifice to the Lord. Go now and work. Right? And so what's going on here? So we see the Israelites, their idleness, or their leisure, is what actually leads them into a desire for worship. And Pharaoh, who kind of represents, I think, the devil here, is trying to enslave them with harder and harder work so that they don't have time to rest, to be idle, so that they don't have the desire to worship. Right? He's trying to, again, just slam this identity in them of performance, of just having to work for no leisure, for no true rest. And what if this is us? What if the ways that we rest today actually enslave us even while we're resting, right? So when we come home from work, we turn on the TV, we watch Netflix, we watch YouTube. These videos don't count, they're good, right? And we immerse ourselves in more consumption in a way that it's like working. Our mind is constantly chewing and processing, and we never actually let it really rest and immerse ourselves in reality. So we go and we work all day, and we have to spend our emotional energy exteriorly in work. And for a lot of us, that's great work, and for others of us, it may be unfulfilling, whatever it is, right? And then we come home, and then we just kind of immerse ourselves in whatever we're doing exteriorly again without really experiencing it really. So basically, the analogy I like to use for this is eating. So imagine our consumption these days, a lot of the times, is like just continually eating French fries. Like it's kind of bland, but we're always just chewing. We're just chewing, we're swallowing, chewing, swallowing. And we're not really thinking about what it is that we're eating because it's kind of bland. But what if true leisure is more like a really nice steak? And we cut it, we bite into it, and we chew it, and we think about the flavors, right? And we kind of let the flavors sit and soak in our mouths and consume it slowly. And then that actually, in this analogy, it kind of breaks down at this point, but it leads us to complimenting the chef, right? It just wells up in our hearts this gratitude that, we want to pull the chef aside and say, hey, this is an amazing steak, right? And so I kind of think that's a good distinction between consumption and leisure. There's a philosopher, his name is Joseph Pieper, and he has this to say on leisure. Leisure is the disposition of receptive understanding, of contemplative beholding, and immersion in the real. Now, what does that actually say? Right? Of course, philosophers like to use lofty language and perhaps say not very much in a lot of words, right? But I think what he's really trying to get at here is that real leisure actually immerses us in reality. So when we're consuming things like Netflix and TV, in a way, it's actually consuming us. It's taking our attention away from what's really going on around us and just immersing it in this virtual reality that isn't actually real. Versus real leisure, something like taking a walk in nature, playing an instrument, listening to an audiobook, or writing poetry, just any sorts of these expressions of ourselves in the real, or painting, that's another really good one. They immerse us in reality and bring us to a state where we are contemplating reality, and thus we are connected with the Creator through that. And some people will say, okay, yes, we get all of this, but is leisure really that important? Well, let's look at the creation story through another lens. What if I said that the last in action is the first in intention? What do I mean by that? I mean that the last thing that we do is the thing that we actually intend to do. So let's say I want to go to the grocery store. That act is the last thing that I actually do in the sequence of events, because first I have to get up off this chair, I have to go find my keys, I have to get in the car, I have to wait in my car for 20 minutes right now because it's really cold outside, and then I have to drive to the grocery store, and then I get out, and then there I'm at the grocery store, right? But that's actually the last action, but it's my goal all along. So let's look at the creation story through that lens. What is God's last action that he does? He rests. The seventh day, he spends it all resting, right? And in a sense, I think it's a call for all of us that this is our final goal. It's to rest with God. Love is being with God, right? Like the Trinitarian love is a being with. So in that way, like our final goal is to be with and dwell with God in heaven. And we can bring that to be a present reality through leisure, through contemplative beholding. So I just invite all of us today just to spend some time in leisure. And so if we don't know what that looks like, I'd say I'll paint two examples from my own life that I do quite frequently. One is I'll take a walk in nature. And so I'll just go outside and I'm walking through and I'll see the trees and I'm imagining it's like in spring or summer, so the trees are actually green, and they look really pretty. And there's birds chirping and maybe there's squirrels running and playing and having fun. And immersing myself in this reality then wells up in me this like appreciation of the beauty of the trees, of the winds, of the birds. And then I think how much more beautiful God is than all of these things. Or I see the squirrels running around and having fun, and I think about how much more fun God is than the squirrels, right? How much more fun he wants to have with me than they can have with each other, right? And this playful relationship that he wants. And so through the natural, I have a supernatural encounter with God. And we talked about that before as incarnational theology, and it's at the essence of leisure. And another thing that I do, I play guitar, and I try and just strum some notes and make it sound good and play some songs that I like, right? I'm no professional, but I enjoy it. I enjoy how the chords sound when I strum them out, the beauty of the consonants ringing, right? And through the guitar and through the noise and just the music, again, I have this experience of God's own beauty and his complexity, but also his oneness, right? Like chords, right? You strum 5 notes, and together they form one resonant sound that sounds beautiful and amazing. And so I can think about how God is infinitely complex, but also simple, right? And so this immersion in the real, again, allows me to have a supernatural experience of God, and that actually fills my soul. It takes a little effort on my end, I'm not going to lie, but it actually fills my soul. It doesn't leave me feeling empty at the end of it, like I know I used to always feel, and I still feel whenever I just kind of immerse myself in consumption. Because I think that when we immerse ourselves in consumption, we are actually consumed. Versus when we immerse ourselves in leisure, we are brought into contemplation of something higher than us. So rather than being consumed by something lower, we contemplate something higher. And that's the essence of the difference between consumption and leisure. And so today, I invite you just to pick up an act of leisure, whatever that may be for you, and just spend some time just really enjoying that and immersing yourself in the real. And I think that you'll find real grace, beauty, and love there. Have a great day. Thank you.